No, I mean, there's going to be stretches that are really good, and there's going to be stretches that aren't as good, and obviously it's frustrating. You want them to go in, and even tonight I felt like there was a few that like felt really good off my hand, and it just didn't go down. And even the mid-range jump shot to start the fourth quarter and the three to start the fourth quarter, like they both felt good off my hand. So it's just like it's just frustrating. And I think for the challenge for myself going forward is just continue to pour into every other aspect of the game, and I can continue to have an impact in all those other areas. I thought I got to the rim well. It was just certainly a tough shooting night, and I got to find a way to continue to shoot and remain confident in myself, because I know I put the time in. But for me, I don't feel like it's anything that's off necessarily. But yeah, it'd be nice if they went down.
Caitlin Clark was supposed to be the WNBA's golden ticket, the chosen one, the superstar who'd break attendance records, bring in eyeballs, and sprinkle magic dust on a league that desperately needed some sparkle. But somehow, someway, the Indiana Fever and the WNBA managed to turn a sold-out spectacle into a slow-motion train wreck.
I think it's safe to say that Caitlin Clark has been struggling as of late, because these splits are very bad. My goodness, over her last 3 games, 13 for 47 from the field, 1 for 23 from the three-point line, shooting 27%. That is bad. And her last game against the Seattle Storm did not help her case. She had 6 points, 9 assists, 3 steals with 7 turnovers, shot 3 for 13 from the field, and 0 for 6 from the three-point line. Now, yeah, that is bad. But all that is cool, because Caitlin Clark is still the only WNBA player this season to average 15-plus points, 5-plus rebounds, and 5-plus assists. The only thing she really needs to do is get her shooting numbers up and then put them turnover numbers down. That's about it.
And who's in the conductor seat? None other than Coach Stephanie White, the woman who apparently took a look at generational talent and said, you know what this needs? A suffocating motion offense that makes everyone watching question their life choices. If basketball had a snooze button, this offense would be it. And while Clark is trying to drag this team uphill with one leg, a caffeine drip, and whatever optimism she's got left, her coach seems more committed to running plays that look like rejected choreography from a modern dance recital. Because nothing screams elite basketball strategy like watching Clark walk the ball up the court like she's commuting to a dentist appointment.
Only problem with Caitlin Clark being in slumps, because shooters gets in slumps sometimes. She is a elite marksman. But the only problem is that sometimes when Caitlin Clark is in a slump, she can't just focus on just getting out of that slump and focus on just her scoring and her shots and getting into rhythm, because she has so much responsibility on the basketball court for being a generator and having a responsibility to play make, create open looks for teammates, set up teammates and get them into the right spots, make sure she's utilizing and getting Leah Boston going in a pick and roll. She has so much responsibility offensively when we just talk about her passing and playmaking ability that sometimes she cannot focus on just her scoring ability, which is very hard because of the play style that she plays with. And also it's something that Stephanie White is going to have to figure out. She's going to be fine. But this just goes to show you Caitlin Clark is only 23 years old, and she's still going to have to develop. These players are young. Real development takes time, and Caitlin Clark is going to continue to develop. She's going to continue to get better. She's going to continue to be the baby goat and the chosen one that everybody expects her to be, but she's not a finished product.
Let's get something straight. Caitlin Clark thrives in chaos. Controlled, electrifying chaos. She is not the kind of player you ask to stand in the corner while your system sputters around her like a busted Roomba. And yet, here we are.
Her level of responsibility in comparison to other players who don't have a level of responsibility when they're in slumps and they can just focus on scoring and just focus on getting the rhythm, it's a big difference. And we have to understand that, and it's up to people that analyze the game to say that, because sometimes people will look at the narratives and look at the stats. Well, yes, she's in a slump. Yes, Caitlin Clark is struggling. Why is she struggling? She's struggling because she's only shooting threes. She's struggling because Stephanie White isn't calling any plays for her. Every time that Caitlin Clark is damn near making these difficult shots, it's not a play call. It's just her going out, creating her shot and shooting logo threes and doing the left side step back and beating her man off the dribble.
After another loss, Clark sits in front of the media looking like she just aged 5 years and 40 minutes, and instead of giving a polished company line answer, she slips. Not a full rant, not a meltdown, just a few carefully phrased truths. She says they needed to play faster. She says it wasn't all about what the coach wanted. And somewhere in there, a bomb went off. Not the loud kind. The kind that leaves a ringing in your ears and a question in your mind. Is this girl being set up to fail? Because if this was just a rookie slump, fine. But this has all the markings of a slow, steady character assassination wrapped in a jersey and branded as player development.
But I must admit, this stat is pretty wild. Caitlin Clark, when shooting threes at home, she is 22 of 50. Pretty tough, pretty damn efficient. Away, she is 1 for 28. 1 for 28. Now say what you want. 1 for 28 in any scenario is bad. And definitely if you're healthy. I don't care if you're home, away, visiting, whatever the case may be, 1 for 28 is not good enough.
You think that's dramatic? Then explain how a player who was the face of women's college hoops 2 months ago now looks like she's being held hostage by her own offense. Now let's talk about those numbers. 7 for 20 from the field, 1 for 10 from 3, and a beautiful pile of 8 turnovers to tie it all together with a sad little bow. Her shooting slump is real. That's not up for debate. But what's wild is how everyone's pretending that's the whole story. Because the real issue isn't that she missed shots. It's that she passed up shots. Caitlin Clark does not pass up shots. This is the same woman who used to pull from the logo with zero hesitation and a grin on her face like she was daring gravity to stop her. Now she's hesitating, second-guessing, looking toward the bench like she's waiting for permission to breathe. And speaking of the bench, every time she looks over, she's met with Stephanie White performing interpretive gestures that look less like play calling and more like she's trying to order takeout through a glass wall. Fast pace? Slow it down? Cut left? Stay still? Who knows? Certainly not the players. Because this isn't coaching. This is improv night at the Sadness Theater. Meanwhile, the league sits back with popcorn in hand, watching it all unravel like it's premium content. Clark is taking hits on the court like she owes someone money. And the refs? They're out here officiating like she's invisible. She gets body slammed? No whistle. She breathes on someone? Technical foul and a suspension for disrespecting the air. And yet the narrative is always the same. Toughen up. Welcome to the big leagues. But let's not pretend this is just about physicality. This is about the WNBA's top draw being treated like a disposable marketing prop. She brings in the viewers, sells the tickets, takes the hits, and is then blamed for not winning with a team that plays offense like a group therapy exercise gone horribly wrong. And while we're on that subject, what is going on in that locker room? The vibes are not just off, they are haunted. The energy in that building feels like someone brought in a Ouija board and asked it how to win basketball games. Clark is surrounded by teammates who look confused, defeated, and out of sync. And the worst part? It's not their fault. This is a coaching problem dressed up like a chemistry issue. Remember when Indiana was supposed to run teams off the floor? That was cute. They've got young legs, athletic wings, and one of the greatest shooters women's basketball has ever seen, and yet they move like they're trapped in molasses. Michaela Timpson is sitting there with fresh legs and hustle energy, and she's being used like an emergency backup option instead of an actual asset. The team doesn't run, they jog, and that's being generous. They have somehow found a way to make basketball boring while Caitlin Clark is on the court. That should be scientifically impossible. And let's not forget how other players are treating her. This isn't just defense. This is a contact sport turned WWE segment. Elbows, shoves, nonstop jawing like it's open mic night for resentment. These defenders are not just trying to stop her, they're trying to break her. And what's the league doing about it? Absolutely nothing. Unless you count vague Instagram posts about unity while their most valuable player gets treated like a crash test dummy. Now, let's sprinkle in some off-the-court genius. Because just when you thought things couldn't get more ridiculous, here comes Jenna Arima, a coach, a professional, someone who should know better, dropping a passive-aggressive haymaker on Clark during an interview. It wasn't even analysis. It was shade disguised as wisdom. She basically said the only reason Clark was that emotional after the loss was because she hates her coach, which might actually be true, but still, who says that in public? That's not coaching insight. That's sabotage with a mic. And it hit. You could feel the shift in the fan base. Suddenly, everyone was asking the question they were too polite to ask before. Is Clark being coached out of loving the game? Because that's what it looked like. This is a player who brought in millions of fans, broke viewership records, and turned every arena into a sellout. And now she's playing like she's counting the days until her contract expires. We've seen this movie before. It's the story of the star who gets drafted into dysfunction, gets blamed for everything, and eventually gets worn down until they either break or bolt. Only this time, the star is the entire reason the league is breathing. Clark is not just another player. She is the player, the one people came to see. And instead of building around her, the Indiana Fever handed her a clipboard, a playbook designed by anxiety, and told her to figure it out. Stephanie White, meanwhile, is rotating lineups like she's pulling names from a bingo cage. Let's put Caitlin off ball. Let's slow it down. Let's speed it up. Let's try a motion offense that nobody understands. It's not strategy. It's chaos with a whistle. And if you think Clark doesn't feel it, watch her next press conference. That smile is hanging on by duct tape and social media training. The fire is still there, but is flickering, buried under game plans that make no sense and a league that would rather monetize her downfall than fix the foundation she's playing on. And it's not just hurting her stats, it's messing with her soul. You can see it in the way she walks off the court. Shoulders a little lower, eyes a little dimmer. This is not the Caitlin Clark we saw at Iowa, launching missiles from half court with no conscience and less mercy. This is a woman being stripped of her instincts. She's not being coached. She's being contained, turned into a safer, quieter, less effective version of herself to fit a system that isn't even working. If she were a car, she'd be a Ferrari forced to drive through a school zone with a governor on the engine. Except every other car is crashing into her while the refs wave and pretend nothing happened. Now let's talk about those turnovers. She leads the league in them. And yet, the only thing some folks seem to care about is her point total, like we're back in a high school gym handing out trophies for effort. 18 points, 10 assists, who cares? She also handed the ball to the other team more times than your drunk uncle gives out his phone number at a wedding, but we're not supposed to criticize that because Caitlin's out there trying her best. And yeah, she is. But that's the problem. She's trying her best while the system around her is trying its absolute worst. It's like watching someone juggle flaming swords while their coach keeps tossing them chainsaws and the crowd is chanting for more. You can't expect her to be efficient when she's being thrown into a blender every night and asked to come out looking like a 5-course meal. And yet, the Caitlin defenders will shout from the rooftops that she's still averaging a near double-double. Great. That's true. But context matters. She's being forced to manufacture offense while being swarmed like she's a celebrity walking through an airport during a tabloid scandal. Everyone wants a piece. Nobody wants to help. Her spacing is a joke. Her support system is a rumor. And her coach? Stephanie White is out here doing a one-woman remake of Lost. Every game, she's drawing up schemes like she's making abstract art. No direction, no identity, just vibes. You know it's bad when the fan base starts pulling receipts and comparing White to every coach that ever fumbled a dynasty. And it's getting worse because the more she experiments, the more it's clear she has no idea how to coach this player. This isn't some ordinary rookie. This is a once-in-a-generation blueprint, and White is using it as a napkin. Look, we get it. Not every coach clicks with every star. Steve Kerr didn't immediately embrace Steph Curry launching from deep early in the shot clock. But he adapted, he evolved, he realized that great players sometimes need freedom, not formulas. You don't put shackles on a comet, you clear the sky. But Stephanie White seems to think she's the protagonist in this story. She's not. She's the villain in a sports documentary 5 years from now. The one who says things like, "We tried our best," while the camera zooms in on the ruins of a promising career. And make no mistake, this isn't just about Clark having a few bad games. This is about a generational talent being mismanaged into mediocrity. You can see it in the footage. She looks different, not just tired, spiritually dehydrated. Like she's being asked to carry a piano up a flight of stairs while someone keeps moving the staircase. Every game is a new opportunity to get elbowed in the ribs, bumped off the ball, and gaslit by the referees. And still, she shows up. She still fights. But for how long? Because at some point, even the strongest players look at the scoreboard, the coach, the front office, and say, you know what? I didn't sign up for this circus. Clark is one of the fiercest competitors we've ever seen. But even lions get tired when they're surrounded by people pretending to be zookeepers while secretly rooting for their downfall. And let's not pretend like this is just a fever issue. The whole league is complicit. The WNBA loves her when the cameras are rolling, when the jerseys are flying off the shelves, when the sponsorship money is pouring in, but when it comes time to protect her on the court, crickets. It's all radio silence and promotional tweets. They want her face on billboards but not her voice on the court. They want the ratings bump but not the responsibility that comes with nurturing a transcendent star. That's not just negligence. That's sabotage dressed in business casual. And while we're here, let's address the growing resentment from other players. Because holy jealousy, Batman, the amount of cheap shots, dirty plays, and post-game shade being thrown her way could fill a Netflix drama. She gets treated like the villain just for existing, just for showing up and being good at her job. And the league lets it happen because drama drives engagement. But what they're not realizing is that this isn't drama, this is erosion. This is a soul slowly breaking under the weight of expectations, bad coaching, and unrelenting hostility. Clark isn't just fighting for wins, she's fighting to stay herself, to remember who she was before she got tossed into this blender of incompetence and spite. And every day that goes by, it's chipping away. At her game, at her swagger, at her joy. If you look closely, you'll see it. That spark in her eyes that used to light up arenas is dimmer now. That joy she used to play with? It's buried under bruises and broken plays and a bench that looks more confused and confident. And if the Fever don't figure this out soon, if the league doesn't step in, we're not going to be watching a rise. We're going to be watching a slow fade. A legend being erased in real time by 1,000 paper cuts and a system that never deserved her in the first place. She doesn't need special treatment, she needs basic respect. She needs a system that understands who she is and how to unlock her. She needs a league that isn't trying to control her but support her, because if this continues, she won't be around much longer. And when she leaves, she won't be the only one. Every casual fan she brought in, every new viewer who tuned in for the magic, they'll leave too. They didn't sign up for this horror story, they came for the greatness. And when the greatness is gone, so are they. So here's the truth. Caitlin Clark is being coached into a corner, battered into silence, and expected to smile through it all. But the cracks are showing. The hesitation, the frustration, the disappointment, it's all there. And unless something changes, we're not going to be talking about how great she was. We're going to be asking how the league let this happen. How they fumbled the bag so hard that their brightest star got buried under red tape, bad whistles, and a coach more focused on proving a point than winning games. And while Stephanie White smiles through her press conferences and talks about patience and process, her star player is quietly shrinking into someone we barely recognize. And that's not on Clark. That's on the system. That's on the coach. That's on everyone who sat by and watched it happen. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just bad basketball. It's professional malpractice. And unless the Fever and the WNBA wake up soon, they'll be remembered not for what they built, but for what they destroyed. A generational talent, a golden opportunity, a future icon, all turned into a cautionary tale. Well played, ladies and gentlemen. Well played.